Hello everyone, welcome and welcome back to my channel. My name is Juliet. In today's video, I will be sharing with you how I made a ball gown for a 1-year-old baby girl. So here's my fabric. I folded it into two. One is for the front and the other is for the back. I used the chest measurement I'm working with, which is 19 inches divided by 4 plus 3 inches of allowance, and then for the back piece I added another 1.5 for zip. So here on the back piece, I am marking 1.5 inches from the center all the way down, and then the length is from shoulder to the half length. So the half length for this 1-year-old is 7 inches plus 1 inch of allowance, making it 8. So next I am marking the neckline. I'm starting on the front piece, which I placed exactly on that 1.5 inches line I drew. So I'm marking 2.5 inches for the neck width and then 2.5 inches for the neck depth. So the neck is 2.5 inches wide and then 2.5 inches deep, and that is for the front. So you can actually make the neck 2 inches wide, which I contemplated a bit, but I still used 2.5 inches at the end of the day. So next I'm marking the shoulder measurement, which is 4.5 inches. So I came down a bit and I marked 4.5 inches again, and then the armhole, which is also 4.5 inches. So I marked it down. Next I'm using the curve ruler to curve the armhole. Then on that armhole line I came down by 1/2 inch. I'm going to connect that 1/2 inch to the neckline, and then I will curve it out. So next, from that front, where the center front is sitting, I marked the chest round divided by 4 plus 1 inch of ease and another 2 inches for allowance. So I'm cutting, starting with the shoulder slant and then the armhole. Next I'm marking the back neckline, which I used 1 inch. So I connected that. The width is going to be the same with the front, which is 2.5. So I'm cutting the back neckline now. Then I will go on and cut the back piece into two, opening the zip side. I'm also cutting the front neckline on the front piece. So that is it for the upper part of the dress. I'm going to place this now on the lace fabric we are going to be using, and I will cut it out. So here's the lace I'm using. I placed it wrong side facing up, and then I placed the satin, the doll face satin that I'm using is facing down. So right side of the satin is facing the wrong side of the lace. Right side on top of wrong side. So I'm going to cut out the same exact shape. So after cutting the lace, I went ahead to cut lining pieces for the upper part, and here's the belt. Is measuring 22 inches long and 5 inches wide. So I'm going to fold it into two right sides together, and then I will go sew using 1/2 inch like so, closing one end and then the rest of the side. So right sides together, I will sew there half and then sew all the way down. The next, on the upper piece, I'm going to place the back pieces together. This is the part with the lace. I'll go sew the zipper side 1.5 inches. So I'm marking the same 1.5 inches on the back, on the lining piece. Remember, we cut the lining piece exactly as the main piece. So I'm going to go sew the lining, after which I will join by the shoulders. I'll do the same thing for the lining. So here is the belt. I've sewn it, I turned it to the right side, and I have ironed. And then here is the lining. I've joined the zipper line and then the shoulders together, and then here is the main piece. So next I'm going to mark the measurements that we're going to be using. So everything I'm doing on the main piece, I'm going to be repeating the same thing on the lining piece. So up here I am marking the chest divided by 4 plus 1 inch of ease, and it's the same measurements I'm marking on the down part. So the waist is actually smaller, but because we're adding a belt and it's a little child, the belt will bring the waist part together. So turning to this other side, I repeated the same thing, chest divided by 4 plus 1 inch ease. And then here on the right side now, I'm marking ½ inch upwards, ½ inch up from the down, and that is where I'm going to place the belt. So the part of the belt that is open is the one that is going to sit on the sides. So using my pin, I placed it exactly on that ½ inch. So we're leaving that ½ inch to join the lower parts, to the lower skirt, to this upper bodice later on. So I'm going to use my pins to hold it in place, and I will repeat the same thing on this other side. Place the belt on that 1.5 inches point and then pin in place. So next off, I'm going to place the front and the back right sides together, and I will go sew on the lines that we marked. So I'm going to be repeating the same thing on the lining piece. I'm going to fold it in half and mark the chest divided by 4, and then pin together right sides facing each other, and then I will go and sew on those lines as shown. So after sewing, I've ironed, and this is what we have. This is the main fabric with the band and then the lining pieces. So I'm going to go on and open the back, the zip side, after which I will measure round the half length, and then we'll use that measurement to cut the lower skirt. So after measuring that part, I folded my fabric in form of a triangle. So it's folded into 2, as you can see. It's folded in a bias. So next I marked 13 inches all around from the top. After that, I measured to see if I have half of what I measured down on the half length, and I got that plus extra. It should be extra at least. So next I placed the 7 inches, which is the shoulder to half length measurement, on that first line, and then I'm marking the length of the skirt. So the length of the entire dress is 24 inches, but this satin piece, we're going to be using soft net, so this piece is going to be short by 2 inches. So instead of marking 24, I am marking 22 inches, and I'm still going to hem it. So it's going to be shorter than the net. So So next I'm cutting, and I'm going to cut another piece of this skirt for the lining. So here I have a little bit more than the waist that I need, and then I placed it, I folded the satin again, and I'm cutting another piece which we are going to use for the lining. So the lining piece is going to be shorter than the main piece by some inches, so I just trimmed it off about 1 inch. Yeah, I just made it 1 inch shorter than the main fabric. So I'm going to take two pieces now to my machine and fold them. So here is my soft net. I have 5 yards of soft net here, and I folded into as many times as possible, and this is the upper part, which is the edge. That's the factory edge there, and then the long side is the length of the net, which is by 60 inches. So I folded it till I have this small tube that you're looking at. So next I'm going to mark. So I place my tape. Okay, I drew a line that is going to be the starting point. So I placed 7 inches, which is the half length at the beginning, and then I marked 24, which is the length of the entire dress. So I measured and I saw that it was 17 inches, so I'm going to measure 17 inches again and cut and mark first of all, and then I'm going to measure 17 inches again. So I measure 17 inches until I can no longer get 17 inches on this 60 inches length of net. So after marking, I got only 3, so I'm cutting them out, as you can see. So 5 yards is not going to get us the fullness that we have on the thumbnail. So if you want it as full as that, you should go for about 8 to 10 yards of soft net. So here I have 3 layers. The fourth one is not up to that. You can add it to it if you want. It should be on the inside. That's like the innermost layer, but I didn't use it. There's really no point. So I'm just going to keep that short piece aside. Here I have hemmed the lower skirt, as you can see, and I'm going to be joining this lining, the skirt part of the lining piece to the upper part of the lining piece, as you can see. I'll go join it and then pleat in the excess. So here is for the main piece. We'll set that aside for now. And then here is the net. I have made loose stitches on it, as you can see. So I'm just going to pick one side of the thread and then pull it together to gather. So when sewing this, make sure your stitches are loose and do not backstitch. So I'm going to pull and pull and pull until it comes down to the size of the waist. So we're going to pull this 5 inches until it fits into this half length round line. So this is one of the pieces that we have cut that I'm gathering here. We still have 2 more that we'll be adding later. So I just keep gathering and gathering and gathering until it is small enough to fit into that space. So I pulled from one side and I've turned to I came to this other end again, picked one thread, and I'm gathering from that end. So next I'm going to go sew this on the upper piece like so. arrange it properly, and I make sure it fits. Then I will go sew. Then I will. So here is it. I've sewn the first layer of the net to the upper piece, and I've also sewn the lining, the skirt part of the lining piece to the upper part of the lining piece. So here's the first layer. This is what it's looking like. I'm going to go gather and sew the second layer, and this is it. So next up, I've added the third layer, and then the satin is the last thing on the last of the layers. So we have 3 layers of soft net here, and then the satin piece on the inside. So next I'm going to go join at the back, fold right sides together like so, and then I will arrange the net properly, making sure I'm not missing anyone, and then I will go sew using 1 inch. From that half length I'll come down by 5 inches and then start sewing from there, after which I will add my zip. So here is it. The zip is added, and this is what we have. Make sure that point is matching. It shouldn't be, one shouldn't be higher or the other lower. So after adding the zip now, I'm going to place the lining piece around the neck like so, right sides together. So I'll go sew round the neck like that, and then sew down the zip line. As you can see, I'm going to go sew round the neck, then I'll sew the zip line and go down as far as I can go at this point. I'll sew it. Remember, it's right sides together. So here is it. I've sewn, and I'm notching the neckline. So after notching, I am going to turn it to the right side. So next off, I'm going to go sew the lining piece. The rest of it, I'm going to go join it together. As you can see right now, it's still open. So we're going to go hold it using 1 inch or 1.5 and just sew it together like that to as far as you can go. There might be a little hole left there, but it's fine. So here is it. I've sewn it, and this is what the inside is looking like. It's very clean. This is ready-made style. So next I will iron the neckline smoothly, and then we'll move over to the sleeve. So here I have a piece of soft net. I folded it into two. It's measuring 8 inches. So on 8 inches on fold, that's about 16 inches in total. So folded into two, we have about 8 inches. And then I'm going to fold into two. That's by 60. So now we have 30 here. And then fold again into two. And fold again. So I'm folding as many times as I can. So after folding, I'm going to be marking 7 inches all the way. So this is for the sleeve. I want it to be about 3 inches. So I'm marking 7 inches first because the upper part is going to be loose. We're going to gather it. So from this 7 inches, I'll come up by 3 inches, which is exactly what I need. And then I'll go back up and measure to that point I marked, and then use that same measurement to mark all around. So it is way more than the armhole that we're working with. So we're going to be gathering it in at the end of the day. So here I'm cutting, as you can see. So this gave me about 4 flare pieces, which we are going to gather into the armhole. So here's about 4. So I have 2 yards of toe net that I am using for the sleeve. So I'm going to fold them and cut as many cycles as I can, and then share them into 2 for the 2 sleeves. So this is another piece folded into 2, 8 inches, and then I'm folding again the same way I did the first one until I finish the entire 2 yards that I reserved for the sleeve. So in total we used about 7 yards of net for this dress, 5 yards for the skirt, and then 2 yards for the sleeves. So I'm going to repeat the same thing. I'll mark 7 inches all around. And then from that 7 inches I will come up by 3 inches, make a mark, and then measure from the top to that mark. Whatever is there, keep measuring it all around the upper part. And then I will cut. So you can actually make this sleeve longer, but I really wanted it to be short and I wanted it to stand. So if it's longer than this, it's going to fall. So after cutting, this is it. I've gone ahead to sew around the upper part and make with loose stitch, which I gathered, as you can see. So I had about 8 flare pieces for each sleeve. That is 16 in total, so 8 for one sleeve and then 8 for the other sleeve. So here they are. I'm going to go sew all 8 pieces on one sleeve and then 8 pieces on the second sleeve. So first I will sew only on the main piece. I put the lining away. I'm going to place it only on this main piece and sew it, after which I will fold the lining piece over and top stitch such that the seam allowances will be hidden. So here's it. I've sewn one part completely, and then the other part, this is what the inside is looking like. I've top stitched and it's all clean. And then this other side, I kind of missed some pieces which I'm going to go back and fix, after which I will fold over the lining and then top stitch. That way all the raw edges are hidden inside. After which, that is it for this beautiful dress. I hope you learned a thing or two. If you did, please give this video a like, share it with your friends, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I will see you in my next video.